In my life, responsibility is as heavy and tangible as a toolbox. If a pipe bursts, there's no philosophy that can fix the leak. You just have to pick up the wrench. It is the trunk of our existence, providing the stability necessary to reach for any kind of fruit. True responsibility is the end of excuses and the beginning of the sacred pause, where we admit, this is my work to do, and I'm going to do it. I'm Nick Walton. I'm a coffee roaster, I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I'm a wee little farmer, and I can't stop thinking about the invisible scripts that run our lives. You're listening to The Value Sword. This is a field guide to the values that shape the patterns of thinking and behaviors that end up shaping our entire lives. This is essay number 37, Responsibility. Responsibility. Now that's in the eye of the beholder, I suppose. I think that people think I'm quite responsible. I could be wrong. You know those graphs, negative correlations? I kind of wonder if the longer people have known me, the less they think I'm a super responsible guy. That sounds sort of defeatist, negative self-talk, but maybe that's just true for everybody. The better we're known in the context of a community, the more the community knows our secrets. The more they know our downsides, the way we are, in fact, irresponsible sometimes. Because we all are on some level irresponsible. We all neglect to make the best choices in some circumstances, and we're often remembered and known more for our negative traits than our positive ones. Isn't that sad and unfair? We move out of our parents' house, and we live on a steady diet of off-brand Lucky Charms and cheap beer. We buy a bicycle, or 2 bicycles, and we allow the rubber tires to deteriorate before the little rubber injection molding vent spews wear off. We run our dad's pretty nice 1985 GMC Jimmy all the way out of oil, and we burn that engine right on up. I can speak to all of these choices with the authority of experience. Still, I grew up with a high value for responsibility. I grew up believing responsibility to be a thing worth working hard for and attaining, which I suppose would be a responsible way to approach responsibility. I have spoken at length about my creativity and my value for capability. These things are parts of pieces of responsibility, I think. I reflect on lambing season. For a time when I was growing up, we had sheep. Sometimes a lot of sheep. In the spring, lambing season would begin. In the winter, actually, the ground was still saturated and difficult. Sheep would begin bringing about new life in about February, and it was my job to bring them into the barn, because it was still awfully cold and awfully early in the year for them to be out in the field alone. I have been told this is no longer common practice. But our practice was this. My siblings and I would go out into the field and scan for sheep standing firm over a newborn lamb. While the rest of the flock would meander and scatter away from us, the new mother would stand vigilantly by her offspring. The goal was to tenderly retrieve the lamb and hold it low so that the mother could keep contact with it. Too high, too fast, and she'd be liable to get feisty, and a feisty ewe is no small threat to a 70-pound boy. Slowly and deliberately, we'd draw the mother ewe into the barn, baited by her own lamb, until she was safe in a lambing pen, a small enclosure of about 5 feet square. And then we'd use a special pair of scissors to snip the umbilical cord and dip the remaining bit in a special splashless cup of iodine. Finally, we'd reunite mother and child and put a heat lamp on one side of the pen in order to give the lamb its best possible chance at thriving. Later, our technique changed slightly. We'd take a 3-wheeler out to the field, grab the lamb, and hang it off the back, and book it into the barn as quick as we could get the mother to follow. I am a little ashamed of this, thinking back. I don't know that anyone knew the better of it at the time, but looking back, I think there was an invitation to tenderness and care that the 3-wheeler obfuscated. We still had our moments in the barn, clipping a clean edge of the umbilical cord and treating it to prevent infection. There were moments of feeding, bedding, and warming that were kindnesses, I suppose. But the whole matter was treated as a chore rather than an honor, and I regret that now. To have animals in our care should be an honor. It can be. It should be. Responsibility can probably be overshadowed or overinformed by obligation. A sense that some things just must be done, like it or not, by hook or by crook, come hell or high water. And that can be a dangerous thing. We stay in friendships that are toxic and untenable. We carry on working for a boss who is cruel or abusive. We endlessly stick by a partner who is no partner at all. Obligation speaks of our present age to me. It's almost a virtue signal to be heavily obligated today, and in this society. How much better would it be to take responsibility for ourselves in order to better care for others? I think now of responsibility alongside the word stewardship, and I think of all the things I have in my life to steward, chiefly my children, how I stewarded them well. Perhaps, at least in part. My oldest child is taking their first breaths in the free air of adulthood, and that is a bitter pill to swallow for me. Not because they are in any particular sense irresponsible, but because they bear the same haste of youth that I did, and because it is a demarcation of time passing. I can no longer be responsible for them the way that I have been in the past. The piper has come to call, and I am receiving my rewards and consequences. Gone are the days of making responsible choices on their behalf, and all that is left to do is to be responsible for myself, for the choices I made during their short period of childhood, to own my mistakes, and revel in our shared victories over the last 18 years or so. I think also of the land. I think of the land I grew up on, and the land I live on now. I think of this land I love, the broad and good land where I am most at home. Responsibility and stewardship again raise their tall flags in my heart as I think and wonder how I might best steward this land. I get angry thinking about the choices of men who care only for extractive profit and gain over the land we are meant to love together. I can't do this alone. I cannot care for this Willamette Valley all on my own, saving it and improving it for my children's children's children, and sometimes I feel very alone in these concerns. I know I'm not alone. There are many who are concerned like I am about the future of our copse, our country, our valley, our whole world. But it seems not enough of us, as the hastening trudge towards a much more desolate, much emptier future goes on. Irresponsible, that's what it is. To think of today alone, to think of self alone, me and my family alone. Obligatory behavior can hardly be called responsible, and as I write this I am reflecting on the fact that while they are often confused, one for the other, they are really polar opposites. Responsibility takes care of it. Obligation gets it out of the way. The responsible thing to do may be to root out obligatory narratives in our lives, opting instead for, as I said, care. Care for ourselves, care for our loved ones, care for the good soil beneath our feet. Do you know my brother has 10 species of native forage on his land? It is his land in a daily and legal sense, but it's our land by tradition. It's the land where I made my memories and retrieved lambs and wept over fallen trees. My brother is intentional. He's directive about his stewardship of the land, and that's an inspiration to me. We are never together for very long before he's talking about soil health, and I love that about him so much. Tomorrow is slightly better because of his choices and his values. I want to look at all of my modern choices with an eye on those lambs. How good is it to go out on a brisk morning, boots and coat, walk quietly in the dew or the rain, to avoid the deepest pools of water in the fields where I've made my home, to search quietly for the small, the innocent, the needy ones, to mindfully draw them into a warmer, drier place. It might not be altogether natural, but it is a kind of kindness, to think ahead, to frugally prepare. And that brings me to those modern choices. So much of my adult life has been obligatory, and I'll tell you the truth, I don't know how much more of it I can take. I have been so guilty of dressing obligation up in the fancy clothes of responsibility. I have admitted that I did not enter my industry as most do, from a place of passion and commitment, but it feels too frightening to make a change sometimes. What would I do? What else could I ever do, I wonder? These essays themselves, they are not obligatory to me, perhaps the opposite. They're bringing me life. It's fun to explore these values that have become so important to me. But that sentiment, the whole statement, was about me and my needs. I reflect on some of my confessions and admissions in recent essays. Are they honoring to the people around me? Is it responsible to speak so candidly into an internet so devoid of care? I hope so. I hope I'm holding these stories low to the ground. I hope I'm walking slowly. I hope I am bringing them into the barn and not just booking it in on the three-wheeler.